So, been about a year now. We've been quarantined, social distancing, and now it's the dead of winter on top of it all. Like a lot of us, you might be getting more than a little down, agitated perhaps. Okay, I'll say it. Completely fucking batshit. Well, the good news is, Toxic Radio is here for you, and we understand. We're going to be doing... Wait, hold up. Can we dial it down a notch? We're being encouraging here, not selling sports drinks. Much obliged. We're going to be doing everything we can to keep you entertained and distracted with our lineup of shows, from Supreme's Funky Contradiction and Hungry for Hope to Paradelphia and Wire to Wire. And never forget, the best music you can't find anywhere else. Toxic Radio, doing our best to help you stay sane. Seriously, can someone please shut him up?
Hey, buddy. Hey man, that's a sweet heavy metal happy hour t-shirt. Where'd you pick that up?
Thanks, dude. I got it at the Toxic Radio shop.
Toxic Radio has a shop?
Yeah, dude. It's in the app or online at toxicradio.net.
That is sweet.
Yeah, and I also got a rockin' Toxic Radio hoodie and a Red Band Underground shirt. Dude, I'm gonna look so rockin' at the party tomorrow.
Well, I think you look pretty now.
Oh, Wait, what?
The Toxic Radio shop is a place to get all your Toxic Radio gear. Shirts, hoodies, stickers. Find it at toxicradio.net or on the app. Don't buy it safe. Buy it toxic. Hey, where are you going, man?
Master, dinner is served. Igor, it's not that I don't appreciate the effort, but you know I prefer my meals uncooked. And how many times have I told you about using garlic? Yes, Master. Forgive me, Master. Please. Bite into Paradelphia. Thursday nights at 8, only on Toxic Radio. Paradelphia. Because what if it's all true?
What's up, everyone? This is Jeremy from Five Finger Death Punch, and you're listening to Toxic Radio. Don't play it safe, play it toxic.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Brent Smith from the band Shinedown, and you are listening to Toxic Radio. Don't play it safe, play it toxic.
Robert Englund here, a.k.a. Freddy Krueger, and you're listening to Toxic Radio. Check it out or die slow.
Hello. Welcome, one and all. You know where you're at. Let me get my camera up there. I am a one-man show in this production room. You know that we're in the new studio. We're having a blast. But you can see all the controls behind me if you're watching the video. If you're not, if you're listening to this on podcast form, you can't see nothing. And why don't you go over to our Facebook page and like us, Deviant Gamer Live, so that you can see our faces, even though they're faces made for radio. Anyway, welcome to episode 52 of the Deviant Gamer Podcast, the podcast that covers the most epic drops in PC gaming and VR. I am your host, Toxic Mike, and with me as always is Demonoid. Oh, wait, let me unmute you. See, I'm doing too many things. You give me too many buttons to control, and this is what happens, Demonoid. I get overly zealous, and I don't know what to push.
Good to go?
We're good to go.
How you
We're
doing,
good
brother?
to go.
How you been?
You see how I make it look like I meant to not press your button?
Yeah, you give me a second chance, a warm-up.
warm-up.
My second take's always better, you know?
Yeah, that's
So,
what it's
you did it
actually.
on purpose.
Yeah, it's 100%. We don't want you talking for the first second. We want you to be able to have a second take because we don't know what you're going to say the first time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a safety thing.
It's a
So we're good
safety
to
thing.
go.
It's our own little safety net here on Deviant Gamer. Even though I think the tagline of the station, "Don't play it safe, play it toxic."
Yeah.
So why do we have safety nets?
We don't need them.
Demonoid, you're ruining everything. You're fired. Get out. No, but we're happy that everybody's here to join us. We see you all out there watching us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Make sure that you do us a favor and go ahead and give us a like. Share the show. Let everybody know that we're here because we've got an amazing show like no other. Not anything you've ever heard on Deviant Gamer is going to compare to this. We've got content galore and stories galore that are ahead of us. So first off, we usually open the show with what we've been playing, which for me is not a lot, and for Demonoid is always Rust.
Yeah.
So you guys already know what we've been playing. So we're not even going to get into that because we've got too much going on to get into. We've got a special co-host. That's right, a co-host here in the building with us. We usually only do... The only other special co-host we've had is Marty.
Yeah.
Marty McPhail has come in here and done co-hosting with us. You know what? This time, we've got a girl. We've got a girl, which is amazing. She's going to bring some extra spice to our lives with not only what she has to bring, but she's got a special guest. But this is a friend of the show, Brooke. Brooke, I got you up. Let me make sure I've got you unmuted. You're unmuted, Brooke. Hi.
Hello.
There you go. Look at that. A girl on the show. Brooke is an amazing friend of the show. She's been with me in the studio before discussing podcasting and internet radio, and now we're here to discuss video games and more with an even more amazing guest that's going to come on and tell us about the craziness in video games. But Brooke, tell us how amazing you are. You're a professor at Rowan College, and what else?
Well, I'm a professor at Rowan College of Burlington County. I spearhead the program there for film and video production, as well as sound recording and engineering. But every time I think I've been in the studio, and by the way, this is the first time I'm in your beautiful new studio, so I want to say mazel mazel on this fabulous space. I'm so excited for you and Toxic Radio and all the great things that are happening. But this is my first time in the capacity of being reverse of being a student here and not being a professor.
Mm-hmm.
I am finishing a doctoral degree, and my specialty is in e-learning technologies at Drexel University. And one of the classes that I have to take is play and learning in a participatory culture, and that's talking about video games.
That's amazing. That's a part of that.
I know, and social media. I mean, I have been on the doctoral level learning about play and culture in video games. It's been really awesome taking a class with Dr. Foster at Drexel University, and our final project to finish out the semester was to create a podcast. And, the first person I thought of was you, Toxic Mike, because I said, we've got Deviant Gamer.
Yes, we do. That's amazing that you thought of us.
So I reached out and said, hey, I need to do a final project. So would you mind having me come on? And I've got a really special guest to bring dealing with video games. And I would call him, maybe he's the godfather. I call him the godfather of sound. But I think he's also the godfather of really unique sound design, sound effects, just to name a few things he's been involved in. We've got Ratchet and Clank, Dragon's Dogma, Resistance 2, Justice League Heroes, Fight Night, The Incredibles, Medal of Honor, Mission Impossible, Operation Sermon, Dead to Rights, Powderpuff Girls, Dexter's Lab, Terror Tracks, Track of the Vampire. I mean, pretty amazing stuff. And
you just dropped an A-bomb of names in there right real fast. I just want to point that out. Alone, just saying Dexter's Lab, which is so friggin' such a cult classic with so many people, kids and adults right now. So that's amazing, and everything else.
Well, I'm bringing it back. So I just want to, I want to get to my special guest because everyone wants, I can talk all night, but this gentleman, I want everybody to know him and hear his story. Joining Toxic Radio's Deviant Gamer Podcast tonight is a friend, a colleague, an amazing, amazing gentleman, Roy Braverman, and his fiancee, Lindarella Ray, with us tonight. And there they are. And I'd love for Roy to introduce himself and give us a little bio, because as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, behind him, he's got some shiny, fabulous statues. And he is just an incredible man. And really, he is the godfather of sound and living his life through sound. So, Roy Braverman, please welcome him to the show. Thank you so much.
Oh, wait 1 second. There we go.
I'm going to make you a sound you can't turn off. The godfather of sound. Well, hey, everybody. I, too, brought a girl. Actually, they're women, and they are powerful, wonderful women. I'm happy to know them both. This one is my fiancée, and I will say she's here because I want her present in everything I do, but she admits mostly not to be much into the video game world, although she's got a master's in education. She's in all forms of entertainment, producer, director, actress, singer. And funny, one of the earliest songs she ever sang that I saw was called I Enjoyed Being a Girl. So tonight she will also enjoy that. She's here to support me in everything and vice versa, and will chime in from time to time when I'm screwing up. Say hi to the people.
Hi to the people. Good to be here.
So, Brooke, I thank you for allowing me to introduce myself. What I usually tell people is that I do pretty much everything in the worlds of sound and music. That's pretty much close to the elevator pitch version. And I have spent most of my career doing animations and cartoons, but I've also done lots of video games, apps, movies, live action, game shows, sitcoms. I've been around for a while, as you can tell by the color of my deviant beard. And I'd just like to add on that note, guys, I appreciate being on your show. Thank you so much for having me on. And I want to say I've been a deviant all my life. I like to deviate from the norm. So
absolutely. Good. Then see, you're with good company here, because that's what we're all about. Who wants to be normal?
Well, I have to say, I feel like Roy, we're left out. We have Demonoid as a handle here, and Toxic Mike. I feel like we both need like gamer handles. Do you have a gamer handle?
Well, when I signed into the show, I called myself Game Boy Roy, which I think is appropriate.
Perfect.
It's not as dynamic as Demonoid and Deviant Mike, but it seems like a nice handle, so we could go with that. I don't know, Brooke. What would yours be? Brookie Cookie.
A Brookie Cookie. Oh my God! Somebody go save that somewhere.
Oi! I'm just gonna say oi. It is Friday, by the way. So I would love, Roy, to start by asking you kind of how did you kind of start crossing over from, or did you cross over from your film and TV show career into video games? What kind of was that first step for you, and how did you take that? How do you take those sound and sound effects different? How do you do that from morphing from the television and film world and show world and morph it into gaming and creating that really intricate space for a gamer?
Well, that's an awful lot to
I know.
Respond to. I guess I'll start with this, especially if any of the observers, audience is interested in getting into the business of video games. A saying that I use often: networking is better than not working. And the best answer to how I got into it, it's all about networking. I'll give you the condensed version of what happened. I started as a musician. got into being a studio musician, got signed to record labels, went on the road, wound up touring with a major act. And then I decided, what the heck, I'll become a recording engineer, got hired at some studios. And then the person who recorded my band when we were signed to RCA, the person who hired me to be a recording engineer, wound up marrying. I didn't even know that. And then one night I got a phone call. That guy was a pioneer in sound effects using sampling keyboards. And he hired me. I got on very early, way back in the early 80s. Our first shows were Transformers, Voltron, GoBots, Super Power Team, and the list goes on. And so that's how I got into sound effects. And as time went on, I got to meet more and more people who needed sound effects for different purposes, one of whom hired me to do a series of what they called CD audio games. It's really very much like video games, but without the video. It was by TSR, the company famous for Dungeons and Dragons. And the deal was you'd have a board just like Dungeons and Dragons, you'd roll the dice, you'd move your pieces around, and sooner or later it would tell you to play a track off the CD. That's where we came in. We would make scenarios, vignettes. You know, you go into a cave and there's a giant gelatinous monster, or you're driving down a street and a giant robot steps on your car, whatever that, you know, it was like a video game. We did about a dozen or so of those. That was really my first experience with gaming. And from there, I had opportunities with the same people and many others to get into various aspects of video games. I have recorded and edited and mastered dialogue. I've edited music, created music, done Foley, mixing, pretty much all of it for different games. So that's kind of my pathway into the video game world. I just want to add, most recently, I had the opportunity to do some VR work on a Transformers project for a great friend of mine and Brooks, Brad Herman, and his great virtual reality company. So to say lots more, I think that's a good start.
So
what else did you ask, Brooke?
No, that's okay. I think Mike and Demonoid might be geeking out over here. With some of the titles and things that we were talking about here.
Absolutely. As soon as you said Transformers and VR, my nerd sensors went off.
Yeah, we parked up.
me and Demonoid, recently got within the last year and a half, very heavily into VR. We both have Oculuses. I have an Oculus Quest 2. He has the Oculus Rift. And we truthfully believe that is the future of gaming. And as soon as you said VR, I was like, holy crap. I mean, that's just amazing to know that you're working on being involved in stuff that is still so revolutionary in the gaming world, and it's just awesome.
Yeah, VR is awesome. Our friend Brad hired me the first time when he was at DreamWorks. He had his own division called Dream Labs, and we did a VR project for how to train your dragon. It involved flying and dragon wings and roars and fireballs and all the usual stuff.
That's awesome. I mean, just
it was awesome.
We're sitting here just geeking out on everything.
Putting the goggles.
Have you? So you
putting the goggles on for the first time, and it's.
Oh yeah, so you've been in VR, like you've experienced it. What are your thoughts on it?
It's a little overwhelming. In fact, Linda and I went to California about a year and a half ago. She knows Brad too. It's funny, Brad's the center of the universe. We went to his VR company, and we experienced one of his VR experiences being constructed. And
oh wow!
What did you think of that? Oh, that's amazing.
That's
we were
really
in another
bad.
world.
Yeah, that is so cool. That is so cool.
So it's interesting.
One very cool.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say one very odd thing about VR is that if you're flying in VR and your feet are touching the ground, your brain doesn't know how to handle that.
Yeah, it totally throws you off. We do something, the plank is something similar to that. Also, there's a game called Population 1 where you actually get to fly around. And yeah, it just totally distorts your brain waves, your thinking, because you know that your feet are on the ground, you know you're standing there, but your brain gets so tricked that you think that you're either up on a tall building or you're soaring through and you kind of have to kind of balance yourself. They call it getting your VR legs when you kind of actually feel comfortable with that stuff.
It's weird. It's almost like a nausea, but not quite. It's a feeling like I've never had. And you just feel like, oh my God, I don't know what to do.
Absolutely. It's really cool.
So I actually like that we're kind of talking, we're morphing, you've got your video games, you have your VR and AR, and you're morphing into all these kind of modalities and these different landscapes that are constantly changing. Like, who knows what the next thing is going to be, right? And, for COVID, education, I'm just going to kind of put my doctoral hat on here. For education, more and more classrooms or virtual classrooms, remote classrooms are going and using video games, VR, AR for learning. How important is that, Roy, when you start designing these environments? I mean, I know you're not the developer of the visuals, but I mean, without, I think, I tell my students, my video students, my film students, 50% of any video is audio. And you can say that about, any kind of environment, especially gaming and VR and AR. How important, are you thinking about the people playing, and like, how are you putting yourself in that mindset of designing sound for these environments?
I have a pretty good answer to that because I discuss this with everybody I do any creative project with. And the point is this: the very first thing I always ask, why are we doing this? Where is it going to go? Who's going to see it? What purpose will it be for? Is it a TV show, a film, a video game? Is it an advertisement? If it's a song, who's going to hear that song? What kind of station? It's the very first question is, why are we doing it? So in the case of video games, it's interesting. You always have a director who pretty much answers that question for you. And the very first thing I always do, well, actually, I do pre-production. I do all my homework. I do every bit of homework I can do. But then when I get to meet with the director, I do what I call a Vulcan mind meld. I just try to get whatever they're thinking from their head into mine. And boy, that is probably the toughest part of any creative partnership, is getting ideas from one head to another. So that's where it starts. And usually it's really not me who decides that, but yet in most cases they tell me, do what you think first, and then we'll go from there. So I get their information as much as I can. What kind of world are they thinking about? What kind of sound are they envisioning? And I try to give them everything they want, and then some. I try to make it better than what they envisioned. And in some cases, funnier.
Yeah, so I mean, I can think of an example. Let's say, you get a script for a game, and, it says, the gamer, when it comes into level 4, is going to be attacked by a gelatinous monster. What do we do about something like that? Like, how do you handle, you just see that in a script and you're like, what does that really sound like? And how do I
mentioned that
figure
earlier,
that out?
And I did have to do a gelatinous monster, and it's a pretty funny story how that went about. I, of course, asked the director about that. He explained it as best he could. And that was the case where we didn't have picture. It was an audio game. So you really had to make a very good definition of the sound so people can get the point. So in that case, it's a funny story. I was recording out of my house, which meant I had to do it late at night when there was little traffic outside. And I went to the most inner section of the house, which was the bathroom. And because there was a fan on the light, I had to keep the lights down. I brought a little tiny lamp in, and I had made a big Corningware full of Jell-O, which was freezing cold. So I had these big yellow gloves on, and I had microphones sitting on my glasses because they were kind of 3D. And so in the middle of the night, like 4 a.m, in very dim light, with evil scientist gloves on, I'm holding a big thing of Jell-O to my ear and squishing it. And I saw myself in the mirror and I went, wow, if people only knew.
That's great.
Came out great, though.
Yeah, I mean, I think people aren't really thinking about these environments that you're creating for everyone and what you have to, like, come up with. So obviously, Jell-O's just one thing, but, like, how are you where are you getting your inspiration? Are you just seeing the words on page and then brainstorming? Are you randomly walking around and like hearing things? Like where does your creativity where does your creativity come from? Like where are you pulling it from to kind of create these environments, whether it's doing something for SpongeBob or doing something for I don't know, let's pick another Medal of Honor. Like where are you coming up with these things?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I do my homework, which in all areas means, like in music, I listen to everything and I practice everything. And in video games, in a previous marriage, I had a stepson that played video games all the time. I jumped right in there, played a bunch of video games. And I have friends who are great video gamers in the business. And of course, I've worked for many of them and they've worked for me. So we study and we listen. But again, if it's going to be a video game project, I'm going to get some video games and I'm going to listen to what everybody else is doing. And a very important comment would be that certainly by now, but about 20 years ago, the video game sound industry started to get better and approximate the sound that you would hear in a movie theater. And by now, it's really as big and glorious as being in a movie. It's big, glorious sound. In the beginning, you had things like Pac-Man and Galaga and Pong. The sound was pretty primitive, and I've worked on those kind of things too. But nowadays, it has to be big and powerful, and it has to have impact. So that when somebody picks up an amazing-looking gun and messes with everything, it's got to feel like a Terminator movie. So we have to keep up with industry standards and make sure we're on the leading edge, and do your homework and go for the gusto.
So I just chime in there about you doing your homework.
Yeah.
If anybody has ever seen Roy in a dollar store,
call the police. No, I'm kidding.
He goes around a store and he shakes and taps and wiggles things that can make noise, and he just has this sense of where it might be useful, and he gets some very interesting baskets full of goods from dollar stores, and he gets looked at really funny at the cash register, but he has he has great collections of sounds. I mean, even something, forget the dollar store, that's one thing, but even walking through the lobby of a hotel when the doors will open and sound like he'll say, that sounded like a pterodactyl. Wait, I'm going to record that.
A robot pterodactyl.
A robot pterodactyl.
It did. I have it.
He's got a garage door going up and down, just can sound like anything practically, or a robot pterodactyl.
All the time. Our garage door opener sounds awesome. I've recorded that too. For those who are watching on video, I'm going to show a picture really fast that backs that story up. If you can't see it, I'll describe it. It's a very bizarre-looking fox mask and a can of whipped cream.
Oh, man. Please don't tell me you're walking around a dollar store with that on.
I stopped at a store for a recording session, and I needed those for a session. That's all I bought. I went up to the counter, and there was a 16-year-old guy there, and I put down the mask and the whipped cream, and I said, don't ask. Just don't ask.
Oh, man. Well, listen, I think that's just one really cool, obviously, example that you're giving us to all these sounds. If, Mike, we could cue up, I wanted to play this opening video that you did for Dead to Rights, because I know you had just mentioned about, you need a gun or you need some sort of sound effect or something that will fit in the game. And I think this is a really interesting example of what you put to a piece. And I kind of want to show this, if we could roll that. And you did all the sound effects for this, right, Roy?
All the sound except for the music.
mean, this is so awesome, Roy. Do you want to share any kind of stories behind any of these sounds, just to give an example to someone? Like, what are some of these unique elements, if you remember, what are some of these unique elements in this that you thought of to make this come to life? I mean, because this, it is like watching a trailer for a movie, and they're doing these trailers for all the games, and it's just amazing how the medium of gaming has just exploded. But it's just beautiful. So maybe talk a little bit about some of the sounds and the effects to create this.
Sure. Well, this was done for Namco, and the director was Flint Dilley, who was the guy who did all the TSR games with me as well. He's a great guy. And basically it started, my friend Gordon Hookalo was the sound supervisor and primary mixer. He just asked me to do all the sound. So it started with me doing Foley, which generally means footsteps and anything you can do in front of a microphone pretty much. And it was in a tiny little room the size of a closet. That's where it started. So I did as much of that as I could. And then he just set me loose. And like most people, said, do what you see and make it cool. So I just went for high impact. Obviously, you can tell from the video that it's high impact material. It's the start of the game. You want it to get people excited. So everything is high impact. But you have to be very careful not to load it up with too much stuff and then you lose the impact. So you have to choose when to be big, when to be small, when to be loud, when to be silent. And just keep in mind what it will feel like to play the game. Actually turn it on.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is something I try and teach my students is, timing, pacing, a second, a frame here or there for, a sound. I mean, I even, the littlest thing, I don't know if people were picking up. I mean, like you said, the footsteps. I mean, there was even that subtle sound when he goes to pull the book. I mean, it was just all these little, the little elements, like you said, to create this high impact and move you into this world. And now I am not a gamer. I do like the Brookie Cookie game name. Okay. Nice. Maybe I'll leave with that, and that'll be my new gamer handle. Everybody, check that out. But Mike and Demonoid, how as end users, as players here, you guys are the end users, the participants in these cultures. How are you guys? How does the sound affect you as the player? Like, is that important? Are you really picking up on these things? Like, how is it to you? How important is that?
I mean, I think Demonoid will agree, absolutely 100% important. And I spoke with Roy about this before, and it's something that is a frequent game brought up here on the show, but is World of Warcraft. And me and Demonoid's taking a little break from that game right now. It is a game that we've been playing since, 2006? That we go on and off with. It's been a while, but a game like that, the sound is praised up and down for the composure of it, the sound going from zone to zone, and the amazing abilities that the sound engineers are able to create these feelings of fear or fighting or going into just a majestic world. But not even games like that. Like any game that, especially for me, I mean, yeah, you've got games like GTA where you're going to have crowds and horns and traffic and all that kind of stuff, and it has to work properly. But I think the real magic comes in when you're doing a game for something that is an RPG, something that's set in a world not of this earth. Something like name a few, Demonoid, Elder Scrolls.
Yeah, Elder Scrolls is definitely one.
Fable.
Said, wow, the cinematics too is what stands out to me. Like not even playing the game, like the cinematics in between cutscenes, it really sets the mood for things. Some of them give you goosebumps when they're done properly.
Absolutely, and it's a huge combination of the visuals and audio. But if that audio isn't right, you're not going to get those goosebumps. And me and Demonoid have sat here in the studio watching trailers before going live. And the audio that goes with that cinematic that's going to hype you up for the game will 100% make your hair on your arm stand up on end, and just you get that the chill that goes through your body. So sound is so amazing, and with a lot of these video games nowadays, and they've been doing it for a while, but it really catches on. The soundtrack is as powerful as the game itself. So if you can make a great soundtrack, but also the sounds that go into the game, the little nuances, because games have become so crazily realistic, like Red Dead Redemption, going through the snow. You have to have the right sound of your foot going through snow, or the horse's feet going through snow. And to be able to recreate that, and like Roy was talking about, like just standing there feeling ridiculous at how you're getting these sounds, to know what the sound people go through to make that sound correct and authentic, so that somebody's not sitting there with a controller in their hand or a keyboard and mouse and going, what the hell was that? Like with the stupidest little sound, and like a door opening. If you don't make a door opening sound right, or the footsteps off with the feet, or just don't sound correct, or little background noise, if you don't make it sound correct, it's going to take you out of that experience. And video games are there to for our escape, to escape everything, to get drawn in, and you want the end user to be drawn in so much that they get lost in that game, literally sometimes for hours. I'm not going to say that I've sat there and played a video game for 15 hours straight. That never happened. But if you could get lost so long that you've been playing for 15 hours straight, then every person involved in that game, from the people that create the animations, to the people that create the blades of grass on the ground, to the people that create the audio, have done all their jobs correctly, and it's just a magical experience. I just got goosebumps talking about that. It's so amazing, and to know that Roy has done something as amazing as that for so many different great titles, and not only that, but cartoons that are great titles. It's really something to be amazed by. So it's really cool. All right, I just nerded out.
I was gonna say, are you gonna start bowing and saying we're not worthy?
Pretty much, because look, I think I did that the first time I talked to Roy, where I almost started bowing and saying we're not worthy, because he mentioned a few things, and we're gonna have Roy back multiple times. Don't you guys worry watching at home, because me and Demonoid have our own questions we need to ask Roy. We need to get down to the nitty gritty of audio and video games. But no, it's we are not worthy, Roy. We are not worthy.
You know, that brings up a good subject, and it's related to everything we've been talking about. Because Linda also pointed out to me before the show, you ought to tell them to run it without the sound and then run it with the sound. It is a big difference.
Oh, yeah.
But I want to say that the most important thing in everything creative to me is that everybody knows what they like and what they don't like. You don't have to be an expert. You know, the whole thing is you have to think, maybe I'll listen like I'm living in Topeka, Kansas, and I've never seen this video game ever.
Mm-hmm.
And you just have to feel it like the audience. So we are experts in the business, but it has to work for everybody. And you know what you like.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the audiences are changing, and especially, this past year with schools, being remote and then partially in person and remote. My kids, I have two little ones, a first grader and a second grader. They had never been really exposed. I tried to keep them away from being exposed to gaming and things like that. They were little. But now I feel like, Monday to Friday with schools, they're using all these different gaming apps. Like, here's a game to learn, addition. Here's a game to learn, vocabulary words in mathematics. And here's a game, to learn, historical, figures and things like that. And I just want to touch on, because I had found out, Roy, and I didn't know that you were taken into almost like this psychology of educational learning back at Leapfrog. And I thought that was such an interesting story that you told me, that, the people that are, playing Leapfrog are obviously different end users than playing GTA and your Mission Impossibles and all these other games that you've worked on, right? So if you could just touch on or give me an example of, like, how did you come into the psychology of the player and creating these almost, we're going to swap here for some of the Deviant Gamer podcasters and kind of talk about your influence and your development of these younger educational resources.
Yeah, that's really important. And in fact, once again, glad I brought my girl, because we are in the process of developing pitches for shows that involve educational edutainment. And it's a very important aspect of everything. All the networks, all the streamers, they all want educational value in their programming. And so, Brooke, I want to give a tip of the hat to you as well. We considered you a great ally and asset in that department, because it is, thanks to the pandemic, the next step in education is definitely bringing edutainment into the classroom. So you mentioned Leapfrog. That was a very different scenario for me. Leapfrog is specifically a company that designs games and devices for younger children, and specifically to teach them. So I had to go up to Emeryville, up near San Francisco, for a few days and train to be an audio lead. So I knew their techniques and their philosophies. And it was very interesting. It was very different. I went to some dialogue sessions, and they would classify each word, whether it was at the beginning of a sentence, the end of a sentence, or the middle of a sentence, because that word was going to get used a bunch of times in the game. Nowadays, there's more memory in these games. They don't have to do quite as much of that. But it was really complicated. And there was a lot of psychology about teaching and children involved. We had a lot of meetings about how the sounds should work in conjunction with the lessons and the morals and the game. And what was really cool is they gave me their devices and another machine to make the cartridges. So while I was working on all the sound, I would burn cartridges and actually play the games and listen to the sound come out of the games. It helped a lot.
How crazy has technology come from that, burning your own cartridges and then putting it into I know Leapfrog, they make all the different little pieces that you can buy at all the stores, right? And then you put your cartridge. Yeah. I mean, it's unbelievable. Taking it one step further, and maybe Mike and Demonoid also want to, chime in, taking it one step further, education is just one thing, but then it's education to like a corporate America standpoint where some researchers have said, CEOs should be playing video games. The video games, allow people to, develop a society, right? Or figure out or develop and deploy like an economic, history, or negotiate and, acquire and allocate resources and things like that. And I think gaming has so changed from being just, people think the stereotype is a bunch of teenagers, sitting on a couch and playing for 15 hours. Mike, I'll ask Laura if you were playing for 15 hours. But what are everyone's thoughts on, this education of gaming used, from kindergarten, but to even, in the corporate environment? What do you guys think of this? Have you heard about this? Is this something that you've encountered?
I mean, video games in the corporate environment, it's huge nowadays, especially with it's weird. It's kind of morphing from video game to applications that are just virtual environments, which could be considered video games, because you've got doctors using VR to better understand what it's going to be like to operate on a patient with HoloLens and with Oculus. They come out with more expensive versions of their headsets made for just business. But also, military, they've been using video game technology for the longest time. I mean, my day job, I work building cables and wire harnesses for the military, so I get to go to some of these conferences where you get to see Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin, all these L3 Communications, all these big businesses and what they've got coming out. And the one consistent thing is most of their simulations, which are video games. All in all, they have to have sound, they have to have video, they have to have 3D modeling, but they're all programmed using Xbox 360 or PlayStation controllers. So it's kind of funny where we used to go from, kids, stay away from the video games, they're going to rot your brain, to now not only video games, you can become an esports member and make millions of dollars. I missed that boat. But also it prepares you for being able to control some of these high-profile machines in the military for some cases. It touches all aspects of business, of military, of everyday life, and I think going forward, the lines are going to be so blurred, kind of a la Ready Player One, where everything's going to be a simulation in some respect, and hence be a video game. And that's going to put individuals that create this content and the creators front and center to create this kind of stuff. And it's going to be exciting. So yeah, I mean, it's well on its way to being a everyday part of everybody's business life. It's just the way it's going to be.
I can chime in from an educator standpoint. The fact is, as an educators need to use whatever tools are at their disposal to deliver content and to teach. And whether it's, in a middle school classroom or an elementary school or a high school classroom or a college classroom or in the corporate world, people enjoy playing video games. So why not use that tool to deliver what they need to learn? And if you can incorporate that, it makes learning fun for everybody, not just children or high school kids, but for adults as well in the corporate world.
That's the key. The more fun, the more attention, the more learning.
Absolutely. And making it so that you can level up during the time when you're learning kind of helps a little bit. Everybody likes to level up.
Actually, Linda has always made education fun. I've heard lots of stories. Fun is very important. And I do that too. Everyone is so serious sometimes in the studio. And I'm like cracking jokes because we want to have some fun while we're making these things.
Absolutely.
And I want to connect the dots from what you were saying. In the beginning, it seemed like, as you said, an evil thing for our kids to get captured by a video game for hours. It seemed wrong. But it turns out it actually is very good to indoctrinate kids into the world of technology. Yes, you can go too far. But look at everybody in the pandemic. We're all binging TV shows for 15 hours. Mm-hmm. Why? Because it's a great way to escape. And so kids have that escape, and it trains them in technology and prepares them for the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So parents out there, sit your kids in front of video games. The right ones.
Wait, yeah, right. Well, one that Roy worked on, definitely.
Yes.
I liked that, Roy. Sure. Yeah, right. I like that Roy said, "Make learning fun." What has been, what project that you worked on relating to gaming and those gaming spaces was the the best one to work on? What really kind of, when you watch it back, you're like, wow, I can't believe I, did this, or this is what it, came to, or this is what the end result looks, and you've been really happy, or, the best experience that you had in designing for gaming?
Certainly the Dead to Rights video that you showed is one of my favorites. It's high impact. It's got a nice bunch of everything in it, and it's from soft to loud and lots of dynamics, and it really does show off the sound very nicely. So I'm really happy about that one. I did a series of a lot of different things for the Ratchet and Clank, all their games for Insomniac Games through my great friend Mark Mailhiot. And some of those were really awesome because it's a completely fantasy world. We made up the worlds and the sounds. We had to do things like lasers and anti-gravity boots, and it was a lot of fun stuff. I like that series. But frankly, every job, I like to feel great when it's done, and I want to feel proud and show it to people. And that's what I try to do in every case. Make it as special as I can, of course.
So, what do we think this industry of affinity spaces, gaming, AR, VR? It's pretty amazing already. What are we seeing? I normally would say, I'd ask my students, what does it look like in, let's say, 20 years? But I'm going to say, because of the fast pace, and like Roy said, we've all been kind of pushed during the pandemic, right, to all these different media mediums and interactive and connected worlds. What do we think this is all going to look like in 5 years from now? Let me start with the guys here in the studio. Mike, Toxic Mike. What do we think in 5 years from now? What are we looking? What are we thinking we're going to be talking about on Deviant Gamer Podcast in 5 years?
In 5 years, what are we going to be talking about on Deviant Gamer in 5 years?
Yeah. What's going to be the? Yeah. What do you think? What do you expect is going to be changing in these environments that you're using right now?
So my 100% prediction for these environments and everything we're going to be going for is VR, VR, VR. Everything, and I've mentioned a bunch of times, I have 2 VR headsets. I don't get a lot of time to spend in there, but when I do, it's an unbelievable experience. And it's going to be where we find community. It's going to be the new social experience. It's going to be where we meet new friends. It's going to be where we have our homes and invite people to. And it's going to really keep pushing the limits of video game developers and sound engineers and everybody that gets involved in that to create these massive worlds that are on epic scales like never seen before. I truthfully believe that if anybody, and I know I'm taking this in a weird direction, but I believe one of the NFTs, which is really hot right now, which if you don't know what they are, go ahead and look them up. NFTs is the fact that individuals now are selling digital items for large amounts of money, and these computers now have it where you can track which one is the original. And Banksy just sold one, I think, for like $20,000. And what it is a little animated GIF of a cat spitting up a rainbow. Sounds ridiculous, I know. But this is where the future is going to go, because now when you can buy stuff that is 100% yours and nobody else has it or nobody else can claim to have it, that's where you're going to be putting that up in your home. This is where we're going to be within, I believe, the next 5 years. And it's going to be amazing. It's going to be ridiculous. And everybody you know is going to have a headset. They're going to be in a video game, whether you're doing work, whether you're teaching, whether you're a student learning, whether you're in there battling the galaxy or fighting in a new version of VR Dead to Rights. No matter what you're doing, you're going to be doing it in VR. You're going to be going to theaters in VR. And the pandemic, even though it really slowed us down to a crawl, really pushed this further than it's ever going to be. And that's a long-winded answer. I love that question, by the way, because I love to talk about I love where video games are going. I love how popular they are, how socially acceptable they are, and how it's not socially wrong to be a 40-year-old man playing video games. Yeah, Demonoid agrees with me. It's not socially unacceptable to do that, to be a grown man and play. My mother she's going to kill me, is mom, I want to say 66. She'll kill me if I got that wrong. But she plays World of Warcraft nonstop, and it's perfectly fine. Demonoid, do you agree, or do you have somewhere else for 5 years from now?
No, definitely. I agree with you totally in the VR standpoint. My answer was more hardware, though. Like right now, you're putting on a headset, you're holding 2 controllers. It's already starting to happen where you're not going to be holding the controllers anymore. It's hand tracking. You don't have to use a controller. You put on a pair of gloves. Maybe not even have to put on a pair of gloves. Certain headsets, you don't even need the gloves. And haptics, the feedback. Putting on a little jacket that kind of, when you get hit in the game, you feel the pressure. That, I think, is the future of VR. To really take VR to the next step is stuff like that, the hardware aspect of it. The software, that's always going to get better. But yeah, somebody that can get the hardware down, perfect.
And if you haven't seen the movie Ready Player One and you're watching this and you're a fan of ours, first off, what's your problem? Second off, go watch that movie. That is where we are headed 100%. Like you said, free moving, hands, a treadmill tracker underneath your feet where you get to run, everything. And it's going to be a whole nother world and it's going to be the creators of this, the content creators, the people that are working behind the scenes are going to do some amazing stuff.
Roy, where are you thinking it's going? Because I know you're now, you probably have a ton of NDAs too, but of stuff that you're working on, but you know, people that are contacting you, and I know you're working on some up and coming stuff. Is this where you're thinking it's going?
Well, for sure, I agree with both Toxic Mike and Demonoid. They're right. Things are going to keep getting better and better, and it's going to move more towards three-dimensional virtual reality, maybe even holographic type experiences. In fact, for years, I've been saying to music artists, they've been saying, well, we've lost the radio and we've lost record sales, but they can't take our live shows away from us. And my answer is, yeah, they will. Because in a couple of years, whether it's 5 years or 10 years, you'll be able to have Paul McCartney in your living room in 3 dimensions. So that's coming. And the
Absolutely.
Same thing with games. It's going to be all about immersing yourself in some other experience, some other planet. You know, everything from being a one-celled organism to ruling the universe, you know, all happen in virtual reality. And the hardware, like Demonoid said, is going to get better and better. A good example is when computer-generated images, CGI, started in movies. Somebody said, look out, because pretty soon they're not going to need actors anymore. And guess what? We are there.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the movies with CGI animation, you don't even miss the actors because it's so advanced. And all the gaming technology is going to continue to evolve. Like the guy said, it's going to get better and better until it becomes really very real.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
We all agree on that.
It's exciting time to be around for all this amazing technology, and 100% with the AR that's within the VR, the augmented reality, and you see it in its infancy with Snapchat filters. Like, you look at that and you think, oh, it's a cute filter. Well, that's going to be a part of the augmented reality ability of video games and blurring the lines between what is reality and what isn't. And it's going to be scary to some, and it's going to be exciting to others. And I like to be on the part that's exciting. So it's going to be fun.
It sounds like we need to kind of make or create like a gaming Peloton or something like that. Or Peloton needs to get into gaming. I don't know, right? Like the hardware, software. That's what it sounds like. And I agree with you. The full immersion experience, and certainly Ready Player One. So I totally see that's where it's going, for experiences for, young children all the way up to, your mom who is a player. That's awesome.
Yes, plays every single day. And
does she have a fun handle?
She has a bunch of them. So she plays every single day World of Warcraft. So she has probably about 20 or 30 characters in the game that she goes back and forth.
Wow,
one of them I know is Chicka Wow Wow. Another one was Knock It Off. Is some of her most popular ones. Again, going to kill me because I'm putting out her handles. But she plays, and her big game is World of Warcraft. She just started asking me to install some other games on her system so that she can experience Final Fantasy and stuff like that. But she gets 100% lost, and again, another great thing about video games and moving forward and avatars and all that kind of stuff is she doesn't have to let anybody know who she is, that she's female, that she's a woman, that she's this old or that old, or that she's young, or it doesn't matter. She gets to be whoever she wants to be when she's in there. And she says that one of the best things about it is the people in the game, the guilds that she joins, the friendships, they treat her just like she's one of the boys. And she loves that about it, that she gets to be this whatever she wants to be for however long she wants to be in the game, whether she's a spellcaster or a hunter or whatever. And that's pretty damn cool for, especially during this pandemic. She has not skipped a beat. She's been on adventures. She's battled huge monsters, all from the comfort and safety of her home. So it's really freaking cool.
And I think I love, Mike, that you brought up the word community, because the basis of this class is participatory culture. And I think a huge part of your culture is the community and the socialization that you're brought up in. And I think that, you know, that, like you said, the gamers, you can escape and you can be who you want to be, but you're also, you know, escaping into whatever community you and your other, you know, participants are experiencing. So like you said, one day you can go into this community and learn about those cultures, and you can flip flop into another game or a different, you know, group or segment of players, or and I think that's really interesting. And you know, I love that, you know, Roy, you joined us tonight, and you know, these environments that you're creating, I can't wait to see what's coming up next. Is there anything that you can share with us, or anything that you want to share, even if it's not about gaming, anything that you're working on, anywhere where we can see, you can share with the viewers of anything where we can see you or what you're doing?
Sure. Well, since roughly last November, I've been trying to focus mostly on music. That's really been my main love since I was 4 years old. I've been working with Linda on her records. We've been doing other forms of music. We scored a film for you, Brooke, and we did a jingle for a radio station. We're doing voiceovers. We're having a lot of fun, and I'm working on my own music and some other music too. But by coincidence this week, I got a call from a pal who is in the same biz, and I'm going to be helping him out on a couple of shows that I can't mention yet. I have to clear with him whether or not I can make it public knowledge. But they're big network shows, 2 of them, actually a third one in September probably, and possibly a movie that involves a lot of drag racing cars. So I went from just cruising doing music to all of a sudden it looks like I'm going to be getting back into some sound effects in a big way in the near future. And as soon as I can announce what they are, I'll be happy to do it. But sure enough, I'll be cranking out the sounds.
That's awesome. It's just so cool.
That is so awesome. You know, and I can't express, you know, I got connected with Roy through, and Roy said it right at the heart of the beginning of the podcast. You know, it's about networking. I have some wonderful adjunct instructors that work for me at Rowan College of Burlington County, and it's such a small world. Jason Ruck, who owns 0 by 1 Sound Studios in Cherry Hill, got me connected with Roy because he does work, and then Small World was our co-friend and I guess entertainment mogul. Brad Herman is an ex-boyfriend of mine. I went to his junior prom, I believe, and senior prom together. I know I'm gonna be like embarrassing him if he ever hears this.
That's awesome.
You know, and Roy and Linda both know him. And he obviously has an amazing career with DreamWorks, Streamlabs, and now his own company. It's just been amazing.
This is the name of his company.
Yes, so amazing.
Great.
And you know, staying connected. I just want to share with everybody, networking, like I said, is huge. And again, I want to just thank Toxic Mike. I want to thank Demonoid. I got to get me a cool name, people. Let's send me something.
Thought we decided on Brookie Cookie.
I don't know if it's good enough. What was your mom's again? What was it?
Oh, Chicka Wow Wow.
I was like going to say Cuckoo. I'm sorry. Chicka Wow Wow.
Like I said, she's had to come up with about 20 different names, but those are Chicka Wow Wow and Knock It Off.
And Game Boy Roy. I mean, that's great. I don't have that hook yet. I got to find that hook for me. I don't know. I remember my earliest memory is playing Strawberry Shortcake on the Atari, being able to change strawberry shortcakes like Alpha, and that was like all you could do. So totally dating myself. And I'm still in just in awe of Roy. You know, Roy used to play keyboards for Captain and Tennille. Right? Is that correct? And
that is correct.
And right. Right. I don't know if any of the local audience here that's listening knows who Captain and Tennille is, but it's pretty amazing, you know, starting kind of a career there and where you've grown. And I just want to say thanks for always supporting me and coming and being a special guest tonight on Deviant Gamer. And again, thanks, Mike. Thanks,
yes.
Demonoid.
And
this has been awesome.
This has been unbelievably awesome. I need to close it out the way that me and Demonoid always close it out, but real fast. Brooke, thanks for coming and being a guest host, really taking the reins for the whole entire episode. We loved it.
Oh, thank you.
Your interviewing skills are top notch. I couldn't have done a better job. So really, really great. Roy, thank you for coming and being a part of this. Like I said before, I'm so looking forward to picking your brain some more about all this stuff and really getting behind the scenes as one audiophile to another. And I just want to learn from the master. You are the master to me. Of how you do all that crazy stuff that you do to make it all work. I hear that story that you told, and I think that's amazing.
Before you wrap, I just want to thank everybody too. Thank you, Toxic Mike and Demonoid, for inviting us on the show and making such a big fuss over my history. And Brooke, thank you so much. And thanks to Jason Rook also for hooking us up.
Yes.
And thanks to the audience and all the gamers in the world.
Yeah.
And I look forward to having my brain picked anytime.
And thank you, Linda, another lady to come on here tonight with us. Thank you so much for lady power, girl power. I love it. And I hope it. Listen, everybody, make sure that you listen in to Deviant Gamer Podcast, and hopefully I'll get an A for this podcast, because if I don't, I'm coming back. I'm coming back on.
Well,
right?
I kind of want you. I don't know which way I'm going to go with that, because I want you to return. So I kind of don't want you to get an A now. See what you did? But anyway, hopefully everybody. No, not hopefully. Everybody, I know you've enjoyed this. This has been a different version of the Deviant Gamer Podcast, where you didn't have to hear me and Demonoid talk the whole entire time. You got the wonderful voice of Brooke and some amazing stories from Roy. Thank you guys for tuning in. Remember, go ahead and like the Facebook page, the Twitter page, all those awesome pages. But we always say it all the time, because we keep on getting new people in. And like Brooke said, the community is what it's all about. Join our community on Deviant Gamers Discord. The link is in the bio. Come over. We don't bite. We have a lot of fun in there. And we have gift wars, which everybody likes posting stupid gifts during the day. But also you could join us in our private chat rooms while we're playing video games, whether it's World of Warcraft, whether it's Rust or some other game. Come join us, play some video games with us. And remember, it's all fun and games
until somebody gets trolled.
Later, everybody.
I don't know if they'll come back.